that it's being recorded. And I'll just start off by introducing myself. My name is Erica Rosenberg. I'm the president of CGR, the Center for Governmental Research. And we are a nonprofit consulting organization located not right in your region, but in New York State. We're in Rochester, New York. And we have a mission to support positive community change in all the communities that we work in across New York State and even in other states. And what I'm here to talk to you about this morning is the Mid-Hudson Valley Community Profiles website, which we have just completed an annual update for that website. And we wanted to share with you kind of a tour of the website if you're not familiar with it, as well as some of the most interesting things that we in our recent update. So you may be familiar with the website. I will share my screen and go to the website now, as we'll be popping around it. The Mid-Hudson Valley Community Profiles website has been in existence now for 13 years, and CGR has been the data and analysis backbone of this website during that entire time. I'm really pleased that we've had this partnership with your community for that length of time. It's really been a wonderful project for us, very aligned to our mission, and hopefully a wonderful resource for the community. So the website it's really who makes it happen are the sponsors who are listed here about midway down, not even midway, the homepage of the website. You can see them there. It's your local funders, the Dyson Foundation, two community foundations of the Hudson Valley, and Community Foundation of Orange and Sullivan, as well as the United Way of the Dutchess Orange region. These funders have had a long-term commitment to providing this community data resource to the region, and very grateful that they do that. So I do want to sort of give you a lay of the land for the website here, and I guess I also want to say that I've prepared some material to talk with you all about this morning. It's not going to take a whole hour though, and I'm very comfortable if people have questions along the way and want to unmute and ask a question. We'll certainly have a lot of time for questions after I'm through presenting if you want to wait until then. And I also want to note that you are free to post questions or comments in the chat. And we do have Cecilia Stansel from the Dyson Foundation monitoring the chat. So I'll go ahead and leap into the content here. The Mid-Hudson Valley Community Profiles website has about 60, almost 60 indicators organized under these 9, we call them topic areas that you see at the top. So from children and youth here in the upper left-hand corner over to public safety, these are the major topics that the website is concerned with and includes data for. And just to kind of go over what the homepage looks like, we have obviously some prominent photography here, local photos at the top of the website. We really want folks, as soon as they come to this website, to understand where it's located, what it's concerned with. So we have these beautiful photos. Then we have some text explaining the purpose of the website, which is to inform decision-making and planning in order to drive positive community change for this 7-county region. So the 7 counties are presented on this map on the homepage, ranging up from Green down to Orange and Putnam. All those counties I'm sure you're all very familiar with. I talked a little bit about the sponsors already. This leading regional indicators block on the homepage basically highlights some of the key statistics that are available on the website. And we like to have this on the homepage so that it signals right away to users that this is a data-rich website. This is really what the website's about, is data. Create a dashboard is a wonderful feature I'm going to get into in a little bit. So the first thing I really want to talk more about is what is an indicator? So an indicator is an individual data series under one of these topics. So we'll just go to one right away. Total population is an indicator under the demographic section. And when we visit one of the indicators on the site, what we are presented with first is this trend arrow. It's available for most of our indicators that's showing us what's been happening with this indicator. Has it been going up? Has it been going down? Or has it just been maintaining? And then the next thing we'll see is a visualization, a chart, a data visualization, again, showing us more information about what the trend has been. So we can see in this example, change in total population, the region is the blue column. That's the entire region. Then we have New York State is this green, and then the US is this aqua color. And one of the things we really like about our charts on this website is that they are customizable. So we have certain geographies that will show up automatically in the chart, but you can also click things to bring them in and out of the chart. So if for example, you are not interested in how the region compares to the state and to the nation, you can take those out of the chart and you can look at just the region itself and maybe some counties and local areas. And when you're through making your adjustments to the chart or using the chart as it was originally presented, you can actually save the chart as you click this hamburger menu, we call it, and you can save the chart in any one of these formats. You can see there, or you can print it, pop it into a presentation and use it in whatever way that you would like. And then below the chart visualization for each indicator, we have some text. This is our narrative. For each indicator, we will have this. And this is really important because it helps define the indicator, explain why it's important, and then say in words what the trends are and what the comparisons are for this indicator. So in some cases, the indicator definition is very straightforward, but in other cases, it may be a little more complicated. So it's important to have, obviously, clear definition of what the indicator is. And for example, in this case, it's important to know that the trend we're looking at is since 2000 in population. That's also in the chart, but it's kind of small print, so you might mess up. So we explain that in this text section. The last part of the text section is notes about the data. So these are, we don't have any for this particular indicator, but we'll see some in some other indicators that we visit. And this is really important because this tells us anything we need to know, any nuance about the data that we need to keep in mind when we're looking at this data. And then below the notes about the data, we have data tables. So this is the actual values behind the chart that you'll see. The chart automatically populates off of this first data table. So this is change in population every year since 2000 for all the geographies in the chart, as well as a lot more geographies. So all the local areas, cities, towns, and villages are available for this particular indicator, not for every indicator, but wherever we have the data for these local places, we include it. And you see that as I'm illustrating here by just expanding the menu, clicking on the plus sign, and then you can collapse it as well. These tables are downloadable as well. You click here to get that as a file. We'll have the source, obviously, and notes for the data table as well. And then for many indicators, we include a second data table wherever we can that actually has the raw numbers that were used to calculate whatever we're showing in the chart. So in this case, it's the total population for all of these local areas. And that can obviously be very important to know as well, and maybe even something you're more interested in than the population change. So this is what an indicator page looks like. If you continue scrolling down, many of the pages on the website will have this indicator table of a different sort that lists all the indicators in this particular topic area. Obviously, these are links. You can click on them and go right to them. And then you can also see at a glance for many of the indicators what the trend has been. For indicators where we are breaking it down by age or race, the data or household types, in this example, we won't have a trend arrow because there's too many groups that are involved. But where we have it, we show that trend. And then again, because we want everything to be really accessible and linkable, When you scroll down even further, these are quick links to each one of the topic areas. So you click on these and you go right to that topic. So the indicators, as I sort of alluded to before, roll up to larger topics. So the next thing I wanted to show is the summary that we do for these major topic areas. And of particular interest these days, of course, is the financial stability topic. And this includes data for a number of different indicators. If we click here, we can see it's about 12 indicators related to financial stability. So income, poverty, subsidized childcare, poverty broken down for veteran status, for seniors, and those types of things. And when we look at a topic key trends page like this, we'll see some narrative that summarizes the indicator data under this topic. And then we also see something that we saw very similar on the home page, these featured indicators that give us that, again, sort of at a glance, quick look at what the data in this section are all about. So in this case, one of the key pieces of data is median household income. And this is almost 81,000 in the most recent 5-year period that we have census data for. And if you know about census data, you know that that 5-year number is basically giving us a value for all of those years, for 2017 through 2021. So the median household income in the region over that time span was almost $81,000. And the reason why we use the 5-year data is because it provides the most precise estimates for smaller areas. And in some cases, they're still not going to be very good estimates because the areas are so small. But because we want to show city, town, village data on this website, we do need to use the 5-year data, and that's what we do here. A disadvantage of using the 5-year data is that it, in this case, is a really good example. It's not showing us pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, right? We're blending all that together, looking at the years 2017 through 2021. So whenever we're making choices about data, we're going to often have trade-offs, and this is a good example of that. But one of the things I wanted to highlight, because it's an important trend in the Mid-Hudson Valley region and in other regions as well, is the fact that even though this household income compares pretty well to, that was very strange. I don't know why that happened. Let me try that again. Even though that household income compares fairly well to other areas, it's maintained, right? We can see through the arrow maintaining that this is income that has maintained its value over time. It hasn't lost value relative to inflation because we do adjust for inflation. And we can see here the region level is higher than the state and higher than the US. It hasn't actually kept quite pace with all of the local costs in the region. And the reason we know that is because we have a living wage indicator as well. So this living wage rate indicator is produced by MIT. They actually calculate an estimated living wage for different household types, so different compositions of adults and children in each household. And they do that for every county in the nation. So this is an indicator that won't be available at the local level, but it is available for the counties. And what we can see if we scroll down to the second data table here is that the living wage numbers for the region for all of these different household types, hopefully you can see the type gets a little bit small. They are all higher than, except with one exception, than the median household income. So if you are a single person supporting 2 children, the living wage estimate for is over $100,000. If you've got 2 adults and 2 children in the household, it's even higher, $113,000. If you have 2 earning adults and 2 children, oh, I'm sorry, 2 adults, but only one of them is earning, and you've got 2 children, you're at $84,000. And the only case where you're above at the median household income level, the living wage level, is if you have no children, obviously. And that kind of makes intuitive sense. We know that children are expensive.
Excuse
So,
me, Erica.
yeah.
There's a question. Kate asked a question about the color of the arrows. Is the red arrow designating a quote negative increase while a green denotes positive? Can you talk a little bit about the color choice for those and what that means?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, that is how we have coded. And in some cases, it can get a little bit tricky, but yes, the green arrow is supposed to be telling us that something going down is a good thing. And we can see that in this table, right? So poverty increasing is negative. So we have the arrow going up, but we have it colored red. Veterans living in poverty is decreasing, arrow going down, coded in green. So that's exactly right. So
Thank you. And while we're paused, can we remind everybody to please mute yourselves? There's a lot of background noise going on. So if you are not currently muted, please do mute yourself. Feel free to come off mute if you have a question to ask, but if you're not actively speaking, please put yourselves on mute. Thank you.
Thanks, Cecilia. Appreciate it. Yeah, so rising costs in the Mid-Hudson Valley, many different components to that, and that's what this living wage from MIT looks at. Again, probably something a lot of folks on the call are very familiar with. The main chart for this indicator does show the hourly wage as opposed to the annual income. I went to the annual income piece of this indicator because I did want to draw those comparisons I was discussing to median household income. So that was one of the key trends for the region for this last reporting period that I highlighted in the regional overview that we produced for the website. And I did want to go back to the home page to talk a little bit about that. So the regional overview is available here, and there may be another link for it as well. Right now I can't see that to say for sure, but the regional overview aggregates all of the key trends sections for the website into one PDF. And it also talks about some of those broader trends at the top of it that I was just discussing. So this is a PDF. Sorry about that. I think I was muted for a second there. Hopefully I'm back with you now. Yeah, so the regional overview is available as a PDF, and again, kind of summarizes all the key trends across the website as a whole. Want to take a second now and visit this dashboard functionality that I mentioned a little bit earlier. This is all the same data that's available everywhere else on the website through all the topics, but it's available in a different form and it's customizable in a different way. So this is what the dashboard looks like. What it is preset to is to show all the indicators at the regional level. So it's going to basically summarize in these graphic forms that you see what the most recent value is and what the trend has been. Obviously, all these things are linkable if you want to go look at all the, the main indicator page that we were looking at earlier. One of the things that's really cool about this dashboard, two things really. A, you can select different geographies. So any one of the counties that's included in the website, as well as any of these local areas that we've programmed into the dashboard as well. Now, for some of the local areas, you may not see all of the indicators because, again, some data just is not available at that local level. But here I've clicked on Beacon, and you can see it's pulling in now data specific to Beacon, and it's a nice way to kind of focus on all the data for one geography. And the other thing I just want to call out here and explain a little bit are the asterisks that you see on a couple of these data points for Beacon. And you'll see this throughout the site for some of the local areas. These asterisks are telling you to be a little bit cautious with the data. And that's because this is an estimate, as really most all the census data on the website is, but this is an estimate of the value that has a high degree of margins of error. And that happens because census doesn't get enough sample in some of those local areas to generate a highly reliable estimate. So these are data that you can use, but we do want to be upfront and kind of acknowledging to you all that there is certainly some error associated with these estimates. The second very cool thing about the dashboard is that you can actually call in indicators one by one by using this menu here, and just actually create a dashboard of the things that you are interested in rather than looking at everything. So here I've clicked on 3 indicators and I've started to populate my customized dashboard with just the ones that I'm interested in seeing. So that is how the dashboard works. The next feature of the website that I want to show you is and I've got to figure out how to move here we go, the map section. So for a selected number of indicators on the site, we have created maps. We would do it for all the indicators if we could, but not all of the data is friendly to maps. So this map data section lists all of the maps that have been created on the website and provides links to them. And I just want to demonstrate that function as well by looking at the children in poverty map. So children in poverty, obviously a really key statistic. When you click on a map to begin with, it can be a little bit disorienting. You need to click on these arrows here, and we do have some instructions. You have to click on these arrows here to see the legend. So this is what really helps you make sense of the map. And now I can see what the colors mean. And here's our 7 counties. So the initial view of any map will be the 7 counties. And you can see here that the darker colored counties like Sullivan are the ones with higher poverty. So the poverty rate in Sullivan is 23%. That's our highest value. The lowest value, I believe, is Putnam. So it's this light color and only 6% poverty in Putnam. To get to the local data that is available on these maps, you simply click the plus sign to zoom in. And now I'm zoomed into the map and I can actually click on these smaller shapes and view data for local areas. And that's also, you'll notice, changed our legend. So now we're looking at local areas, some of which have much, much higher poverty rates, such as Thompson is an example, 40% of children living in poverty. We do see here in the fine print, there's an asterisk, there's 1, that's better than 2 or 3, but it is telling us that there is some significant error associated with this estimate. It doesn't mean that you cannot use the data. However, it does mean you should not compare it to something that is close and draw any conclusion. So for example, I wouldn't compare this to another area with maybe a 10% or 12% lower poverty level and say that this is higher. Again, that's what we're trying to denote with the asterisk, is to be a little careful about making comparisons there. So I know there are other comments in the chat. I'm not going to look at that right this second, but if there's anything anybody wants me to address, Cecilia, feel free, or we can wait. I have a few other comments to make before opening it up.
There are no specific questions in the chat, but feel free to unmute yourselves right now if you have any questions.
Next thing I was going to show, we were looking at child poverty and how child poverty shows that map inequities over the geographic area of the region. Another way to look at that, of course, is through race and ethnicity breakdowns. We have several indicators on the website across all of the topic areas that break down data for race and ethnicity. That's helping us to understand better the racial and ethnic inequities that we have in the region, as well as across the country, really in the state. So in this example, it's child poverty that we're looking at, and you can see that the levels for Black children, Hispanic children as well, are quite a bit higher for the region, the state, and the US than for Asian children and for white children. And one of the things that we have added over the last couple of years to this website and all of the other websites that CGR works on is some narrative looking at this disparity directly. And so what we realized is by just reporting this data, we were sort of, and not commenting on it in this way, we were leaving too much open. We wanted to do more with our narrative to explain basically structural racism, policy, history, how these things have contributed and really cause the disparities that we see in the data. So in some indicators, this section is long. Here we're keeping it pretty short, but we're trying to draw those connections again between history, between policy, so that users of the site can put that data into a context and begin to understand those issues at a higher level, at a deeper level, really. And I do want to just let folks know, one of the things we'll be doing over the next year with the website is adding a section focused on racial equity that will include the data for across all these topics that's broken down by race and ethnicity, and sort of focus even in a bigger way on structural racism, structural inequity, discussing, you know, some of the history, some of the policy that's really caused the inequities. And that's something we are very pleased to be adding. We do on an annual basis, you know, look at the list of indicators on the website, think about changes that we might want to make to the website to make sure that we're keeping abreast of the most important issues. And I'll just show one kind of final example related to that. This drug overdose mortality rate is an indicator that we added to the website several years ago. And the chart makes very clear why. In the region, in the state, in the US, but particularly in the region recently, we've seen increasing drug overdose deaths. Again, I'm sure that's a trend many of us on the call are quite familiar with, might even be working on, but something we definitely wanted to make sure was represented here in the data.
So a couple of questions. One asking if there are any indicator data about animal protection or animal rescue, and I can answer that one. There are not. Another question about mental health stats. We do have one that is called mental health clinic visits, which Erica is showing. And then
I'll just jump in, Cecilia, because this mental health clinic visits indicator is one we've included on this website for many, many years. You can see it's available only every 2 years. It's also, you know, mental health, it's just an interesting topic, so I wanted to comment on it a little bit. It's not one where there are a lot of really good indicators available. So we have picked this one because it's one of the only ones that's available, but I'm always interested in learning about any data that folks know about to mention or to really measure, to really kind of track mental health, because as you can also see with this indicator, it's not very up to date. So the most recent data available is 2019. In fact, I can check into this a little bit more and get back to folks if they're interested, but I think this may be an indicator that's not even being updated anymore.
Interesting. Okay. And then one other question, are there any indicators that speak to community wellness in terms of access to recreational assets like green space?
Yeah, great question. I do not believe we have anything like that on this website at this time. There are some other projects that CGR works on where we've been able to locate related data, not exactly that indicator, but there are, for example, in Massachusetts, there is some data available on protected land. And so there may be an opportunity to research that and add that to this website as well to see if there's something like that available for New York State. I don't know off the top of my head that there is, and that doesn't quite get to the question, of course, but it does, you know, sort of access to open space, but it does at least speak a little bit to how much open space there is. So good question. And again, if folks know about data sources and want to suggest data, I would certainly be interested to learn about things if people want to put stuff in the chat or speak about it. So any other questions folks are wondering, or any other discussion? Yep, any feedback or anything like that?
I wonder if it would be helpful to explain kind of the variety of data sources that this site pulls from, and you know, how often they tend to be updated and what the lag time is, and just kind of the bigger picture about data in general and how it's drawn into this site.
Yeah, great point. So we do use a variety of data sources. Most of them are coming from government data sources, often the federal government. So a lot of the data on the site comes directly from the US Census Bureau. It's either coming from the census we do every 10 years, although that's pretty limited to just reporting number of people, race, ethnicity, that type of thing. And then a lot of it comes from the American Community Survey, which again, folks might know is an ongoing survey that Census is doing all the time now, to collect that more detailed information about finances, about housing, about education levels, about jobs and employment, things like that. A lot of socioeconomic characteristics of the society, of our people. We also use the state education department, the state health department, the Centers for Disease Control, for some health data, the Bureau of Economic Analysis for employment data. So much of it is sort of official government data that we're pulling into the website, but there are other data sources that we have explored and that we use for specific indicators. Most of the data sources are updating only once a year. So over the course of the year, we will post updated data to the website as it becomes available. We don't like wait until the end of our cycle to do that. We kind of do it throughout the year as things are coming out. For example, test scores from the state education department come out at a different time than the US Census Bureau updates. But we will be working through the year to update the data. And we can, as I said, explore other sources of data and bring those into the site. But they do need to be sources that are going to be updating regularly and have data that's fairly accessible. There was one more thing that you asked about, Cecilia, that I wanted to comment on. Oh, the lag time, that differs. So it would be wonderful if I could tell you that we have data for 2022 across the site. We don't. A lot of the data is going to be 2021. Some of it may be 2022, but depending on the data source, the lag time could be 1, 2, unfortunately, sometimes even 3, or as the example we're looking at now, even 4 years. So some of those processes for collecting and publicizing data are just bureaucratic and they take a while to complete. Thanks.
Questions in the chat. Somebody asked where and when the recording of the webinar will be available, and Jen Killian posted a reply. It will be posted on this website shortly. So you can look for that in the next day or so. Any other thoughts or questions for Erica? Remember everyone is muted, so unmute yourself if you would like to ask a question or post it.
Yeah, in terms of broader trends, I mean, I guess I would just say, we really focused in the regional overview on sort of what I've already discussed a little bit, which is the cost of living, really outpacing incomes, not for everyone in the Mid-Hudson Valley, obviously, but for a lot of people. Certainly one of the key things driving that is the cost of housing. And housing in the Mid-Hudson Valley has for quite a while now been considered unaffordable. We look at that through this ratio of median home value to median household income, and a level between 2 and 3 is usually considered affordable. So you can see the region is at 4 here. And again, it has been for some time, but that's that's certainly an issue that's just, as again, I'm sure you all know probably better than I do, just kind of a continuing and exacerbating issue for the region.
One other question, any data on access to broadband?
That is available. We do not, it doesn't look like have it on this website, but that is something that we could think about adding, and we have used it on a number of our other projects at CGR. One of the things that gets a little complicated about that is that it is just that, it's access to broadband. So sometimes people are surprised when we feed the data back to a community because it'll maybe be a little higher than they're expecting. Because of course, access isn't the same as affordability. And it's also not the same as having the devices that folks need, right? So there can be sort of many kind of related issues about affordability of devices and affordability of the broadband itself. But yes, that's a census question that's asked. And so it is available through American Community Survey.
Yes, if there are no further questions, we can wrap up, but let everyone know, feel free to reach out to CGR with questions specific to data, to any of the partner organizations listed here on the page or on the site with suggestions or questions. And you can review the webinar and get in touch with us in any number of ways. So please do keep in touch with any thoughts or comments about the site. Erica?
That's great. Yes, thanks everybody for participating today, and really appreciate you guys tuning in, and hope you find the website valuable and useful, and definitely interested in any comments or feedback or questions down the line. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Interesting about the animal data.
Yes, I see that comment here.
I have not got that question or comment before, ever. I'm trying to think what even that would be. What would that be?
Wonder if there's a criminal justice indicator about arrests
Like
related to
treatment?
animal cruelty or
Yeah.
humane law enforcement data.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she said something, she said rescue.
Welfare or rescue, yeah. Or maybe there's a stat on shelter census, animal shelter census or something.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so I'm gonna stop